going to discuss the strategy for excelling in law school and how to study for the final exam from day one of law school. The strategy that I recommend involves deliberate and efficient work throughout the semester and a regular self-assessment. The first question to ask yourself if you want to do well on your law school final exams is a basic one. What does the final exam test? If we can answer this, we can easily work backward to figure out how to study for the final exam. A law school final exam, almost without exception, generally tests two things. One, how well you know the law, and two, how well you can apply it to a fact pattern that will appear on your exam. So how do you learn the law? First, prepare efficiently for class. The idea is to understand the main point of your cases by book briefing them or annotating your casebook. And I'll go into more detail on this in just a minute. Next, after class, organize your class notes into an outline where you focus on the rules of law for each issue presented. I will also cover this in more detail in a moment. Lastly, learn or memorize your outline. That is, learn the elements of law. This is a step that a lot of students skip, but you absolutely have to know the law if you're going to apply it quickly and correctly to a law school fact pattern. It does not matter if you are allowed to consult your books, your outlines, or your notes during the exam. You cannot skip this step if you want to do really well in law school. But this is not undergrad. Learning the material and the law is simply not enough. You also have to be able to apply the law to a fact pattern. So how do you do this? First, learn a strategy to answer exam questions. This is called the IRAC strategy. IRAC stands for Issue, Rule, Analysis, Conclusion. We teach this in great depth in our free law school prep course and give you the chance to actually practice this strategy. And I'll cover it in a little more depth here in just a minute. But just being familiar with the strategy is not enough. You also have to practice it and apply the strategy to past exams. If you wanted to get better at the game of basketball, you wouldn't just sit around reading basketball strategies all day. You actually have to get out there and practice those strategies, or you will not get better at basketball. And it's the same with law school final exams. So practice your professor's exams, if they're available. Go through the fact pattern and use IRAC, spot the legal issues, state the rule for each issue, apply the law, and arrive at a conclusion for each issue. When you are done writing a practice exam answer, take time to actually self-grade your answer by comparing it to the model answer. As I mentioned earlier, law school provides no graded feedback, but you can get into the mind of a grader and provide yourself with feedback if you grade your own practice exam answers. This will increase your skill quickly, and it will make you more confident as you approach exam day because you will know you are on the right track. So what does a typical day look like if you want to excel in law school? I will describe a typical day and also go into more detail on several of the things I mentioned above. So on a class day, at some point before class, prepare for class. As I mentioned, in law school, you are assigned a lot of reading. So you want to be familiar with the cases so that you can follow along in class, take good class notes, and also answer questions if you're called on. However, you do not want to spend all of your study time reading cases. A mistake that a lot of students make is they spend virtually all of their time reading cases and writing out full case briefs for every single case they are assigned. Basically, they're working hard, but they're not working effectively. So what's a case brief? It's basically a document that someone creates that summarizes the case. It states the name of the case, the parties involved, who is suing, who's being sued, the issue, in other words, what's the question the court is answering. It could be something like, did the defendant commit a battery? Next, it will state the facts, essentially what happened in the case. Maybe in our hypo, the plaintiff was running toward the defendant and the defendant got scared and punched the plaintiff. Those would be the facts. Next, the rule of law. And then the analysis, where the court applies the rule of law. And lastly, the holding and the judgment. Who wins and what happens to the case? Writing a case brief is a great exercise to really dive into the details of the case. But it is very time-consuming. So if you do this for every case you are assigned, you will probably literally spend all of your time writing case briefs. Now, I'm not saying that you never want to write case briefs. You may want to brief some cases, for example, in the beginning of the semester or in some circumstances. But in general, you do not want to make it a habit to handwrite a case brief or type a case brief for every single case assigned throughout the semester. at some point you want to switch to a more efficient method, and we recommend you do this early on. Some might think that the most efficient method to get through cases is to simply read the cases. However, there's an even faster and better way. The fastest and most efficient way to get through all of your reading is to read a case brief before you read your case. A case brief is a summary of the case, which you can often find online for free. It gives you a primer of the case, and it will allow you to get through the actual case much faster. So read the case brief, then quickly go through the case and book brief it. That is, highlight the facts, the issue, the rule of law, the holding. We recommend that you get through cases quickly and efficiently using this method. As I mentioned, some students will spend all of their time reading cases, briefing cases, and talking about cases in study groups. But this is actually only one of 5 things that you need to do to excel in law school, so you do not want to spend all of your time on this or you will not end up with high grades. So please make sure that you efficiently approach cases by adopting this approach to get through them faster. To make sure that you are not spending every waking moment on cases, I recommend you map out your day and only spend some limited amount of time, like an hour or an hour and a half or so before class, and then not going beyond that. Otherwise, all of your prep time may inadvertently be spent on cases. Another tip to help you be efficient in reading cases is to make sure that you do not pre-read for the week ahead. This is tempting. I used to try to do this too. If you pre-read all of your cases for the week on Sunday, for example, by the time you get to Thursday, you will forget what you read, and you'll find yourself either A, being unprepared, or B, needing to read the material again. Just read your cases the morning of class or the night before class so that they are fresh in your mind for class. Next, go to class. Take good class notes, focusing primarily on the rules of law. Focus on what the professor says rather than what your classmates say. Your classmates may or may not be correct, even if they sound confident. Oftentimes, note that instead of directly stating a rule of law, your professor will point to a section in a statute or a sentence in a case and illuminate the rule of law that you need to know. Write down the rule of law. This is your primary focus, as you need to eventually memorize the rules of law. Also, write down some of the examples that your professor comes up with in class. They may ask questions on how to apply the rule, and these are helpful examples to write down. Most of the time, you do not need to write down every fact of the case your professor talks about, but it is helpful to capture the main points of a case in your class notes. You'll get better at figuring out what to write down as the semester goes on. Then, ideally, right after class, but definitely within 24 hours when the material is freshest in your mind, make it your habit to go right to a library or coffee shop or wherever you study best and convert your class notes into your outline. An outline is basically a summary of all the rules of law and important points that you need to pass the class. It is a condensed and organized version of your class notes. The best way to get started on your outline is to pull up your class notes as well as your syllabus. Your syllabus will tell you all of the topics that you're covering throughout the semester. It is essentially a skeleton outline. The headings in your syllabus can often be the exact same headings that are in your outline. So for example, the headings in your outline, if your tort syllabus looked like this, could be negligence, duty of care, breach, causation, etc. Then for each topic, you will need to find the applicable rules of law. Get these from your class notes. So for example, if you start with intentional torts, you might have something like assault, battery, false imprisonment. You can find rules of law from your class notes. If you can't, you can always check your casebook or other places. Write down the rules of law right in your outline, and then break them up into their component elements to make them easier to learn. For example, instead of writing a full rule of law, which is difficult to learn, break it up into the 3 main elements. For battery, for example, the 3 main elements are act, intent, and contact, so emphasize those in your outline. It is easier to learn them that way when the rule is broken up into its component elements, and your outline will be more useful to you. Lastly, add short case summaries or hypos that your professor discusses in class under the applicable rule in your outline. Do not add full case briefs. Just a sentence or 2 that summarizes the case is helpful. Some students do not include cases in their outlines at all, but I recommend including summaries of the cases that your professor spends a decent amount of time in class discussing. A short section of your outline might look like this. It has 3 intentional torts, right from the syllabus, assault, battery, and false imprisonment. It has the rule broken up in each case, and there's a hypo that the professor stated in class and a case that illustrates the rules of law. I cannot teach you exactly how to outline in this short period of time, but hopefully this gives you a good idea of what creating an outline entails. We go into great depth on this in our full free law school prep course. Each class day, you may add anywhere from half a page to 2 pages to your outline. After you make your outline for each day, then commit that portion of your outline to memory. Many students are not used to memorizing. Some academic success professionals do not even like this word memorize. It's fallen out of fashion. They use the word review or learn, which is fine. But I am telling you, you really need to know the material and you need to memorize it. To memorize effectively, please do a few things. First, I recommend printing your outline. Scientific studies have proven that it is easier to memorize printed material than it is to memorize electronic material. This is because when you look at a printed page, you can picture where something is on the page more easily when it is printed. The context cues help you memorize it. If something is electronic, you don't have these same context cues. Second, get rid of distractions. Shut down your laptop, get a big cup of coffee or your beverage of choice, put your phone in a different room. Have your printed outline in front of you. You need to intensely focus, and intense focus cannot occur if distractions are present. Next, commit a short period of time, 30 minutes at first, to focus on memorizing a section of your outline before you take a 10-minute break. Determine the section you will memorize, probably the portion of the outline that you created that day, and set that artificial deadline of learning it in 30 minutes or so. During this time, use active learning techniques. What is an active learning technique? Is reading notes or rereading notes an active learning technique? No. Is listening to lecture? No. Is watching videos? No. These are all passive learning techniques. These are ineffective. You want to use active learning techniques. Active usually means that some part of you is moving. Examples are quizzing yourself, discussing concepts with others, making charts, diagrams, or concept maps. My favorite thing to do is use your printed outline, cover up the law, and then see if you can recite it out loud or rewrite the elements. If it is helpful, make charts or diagrams to further illustrate the law. Memorization takes time and effort. During this 30 minutes, don't take excessive breaks to get coffee or use the bathroom. Commit to memorizing one short section of law. You will feel so much better about the material and so much less lost in law school if you do this all throughout the semester. Note that it is not enough to just memorize your outline section once and then never review it again. If you want to memorize something and make it stick, you need to review your entire outline regularly to make sure it's committed to memory. As a bonus, not only will this help you excel in law school, memorizing the law will also help you pass the bar exam, and it will help you as a practicing attorney. It is not a wasted effort. We go into more depth on how to prepare for class, how to outline and memorize your outline in our full law school prep course. We also give you the chance to practice these skills before law school starts. Next, after you convert your notes into an outline and memorize that section of your outline, take a well-deserved break. I highly recommend that you take a power break, so do something that will relax you but also energize you. For example, go on a walk around the block, call a friend, eat a healthy snack. But do not do things like check email or social media or just sit at your desk. That will be more likely to drain your energy rather than re-energize you. So that is how you learn the law. You prepared for class effectively, you outlined, and you learned your outlines. Next, we are switching gears to actually applying the law. This is something that you can also work on regularly throughout the semester. So how do you do this? After you take your power break, when you are done memorizing a portion of your outline, work on some practice problems. In the beginning of the semester, you will not know enough to do a full practice exam. But there are a lot of places that you can find short practice problems that focus on specific topics. For example, our JD Advising Law School Study Aids has short practice problems written by top professors that attended top law schools, such as Harvard Law School. These practice problems are organized by topic. So for example, if you are learning contract formation in contracts, you can look at problems that are specifically tailored to contract formation. Feel free to sign up for a free trial of our law school study aids. Students also like the Examples and Explanations series. These are books that explain the law and have short practice problems at the end of each chapter. The point is, you can start doing short practice problems right from the beginning of the semester. You do not need to wait. For each practice problem, make sure you carefully read the answer to the question and grade your own answer by comparing it to the answer that's given. When you grade your answer, you should be asking yourself questions like, did I spot the legal issue? Did I know the rule of law? Did I apply it correctly? And did I arrive at the right conclusion? This will give you instant feedback on how you are doing, and you can change your approach if necessary. Overall, it will not only make you confident in your knowledge of the law, but it will also make you confident in your application of the law. As you get closer to the middle of the semester, you can start looking at real exams. The best place to look is at your professor's old past exams. These will show you the typical format of your professor's exam, what they like to test, and importantly, what they like to see in an exam answer. You can typically find these online. Your professor may list it as a class resource, or in your law school library. If you are unable to locate these, ask your professor if they are available. Make sure that when you get your professor's past exams, that you also get a model or sample answer. This is necessary. You need the model or sample answer to help you self-assess how you are doing. When you write your answer to an exam problem, answer the question using the IRAC method. Look for the legal issues, state the rules of law you have spent so long memorizing from your outline, apply the law by arguing both sides and showing off your critical thinking skills, and then arrive at a conclusion for each issue presented. As an example, if the fact pattern was simply A punched B, there are several potential issues. But one is, did A commit a battery? So that is an issue that you might want to identify. Next, you want to state the rule. A battery is an act with intent to cause a harmful or offensive contact or imminent apprehension of that contact, and a harmful or offensive contact directly or indirectly results. In other words, there needs to be an act, intent, and contact. This is why you have to memorize the law. Next, you want to argue both sides. A might argue, I punched B on accident, I was reaching for something and he suddenly appeared in front of me, or maybe B punched me first and I was acting in self-defense. B might argue it was intentional. This was not a self-defense claim. Lastly, arrive at a conclusion. Say who will likely win. We explain this in great detail in our full course, and you will have the opportunity to actually practice the IRAC method by applying this to an exam question. Next, and most importantly, when you are done answering the question, self-grade your answer. So compare your answer to any model or sample answer that your professor makes available, and ask, did I spot the issues? Did I state the rules of law accurately? Did I apply the law correctly? And did I identify all the arguments? Did I arrive at the correct conclusions, or at least arguably correct conclusions? This is necessary if you want to improve your exam writing abilities, and we explain this in great detail in our full law school prep course. And note that this is the difference between an A student, a B student, and a C student. A C student will do the reading, go to class every day semi-prepared, go home and read for the next class. They will probably not take a lot of extra time to learn the law or apply it. A B student will prepare for class, but also set aside regular time to make their outlines and learn their outlines. An A student will do all of the above, but will also take numerous practice exams and self-assess them. The key to getting an A is regular and deliberate practice and self-assessment. What if your professor does not make past exams available? Not to worry. You can still get law school exams with model answers by Googling it. For example, Google contracts exam model answer. Or you can get these by purchasing our law school study aids. We have an exam bank that is made up of publicly available past exams from real professors with model or sample answers. After you read cases, go to class, make your outline, learn your outline, and take a practice problem or exam and self-grade it, your work is done for the day. You may have other things to work on, like a legal writing brief or memo, and please do not put that off. Of course, you can also rearrange your schedule, for example, to do your legal writing or research assignments on the weekends, or you can always work on outlining and memorizing over the week, and then do the bulk of your practice problems over the weekend. You'll figure out a rhythm that works well for you. And that brings me to my last point. The best way to make sure that you are prioritizing and getting everything done is to make a study schedule. This really takes place in two parts. First, you want to make an overall schedule. So once you get your law school class schedule, you can figure out both when you will study and where you will study. Here's how you do that. First, figure out when you will study. I recommend you get a blank calendar, which we provide in our prep course. Begin by filling in the days and times you have classes. You actually have to go to class in law school. And then add in other things like exercise, time to relax, and of course your study time. You may want to spend about 3 or 4 hours each weekday studying, give or take, and more on weekends. However, this varies, and again, sometimes students study more and sometimes they study less. The most important thing is to use your study time effectively. And at some point, quality becomes more important than quantity. Adding an extra hour to an already filled up study schedule isn't going to make a huge difference. Next, figure out where you will study ahead of time. A coffee shop, library, etc. Knowing when and where you will study is helpful. You have it mapped out and included right in your schedule. But the problem with just vaguely setting aside time to study is that you might sit down and be unproductive. The cure for this is to have a tailored checklist of things to get through. So the next thing that you will want to do is make a schedule each week. I used to sit down on Saturdays and plan out exactly what I would do every day of the week to come. For example, I took Sundays off, so that day was easy to plan. But on Monday before class, I would read my case briefs, read my cases, and prepare for my Monday classes. After class, I'd add to my outline for each of my classes. Then I'd print my outline for each class and memorize it. Then I'd do some short practice problems. After that, I would usually take a break to exercise or go on a walk, and then I'd come back and do whatever else needed to be done. Sometimes it was a legal writing assignment or a research assignment or something like that. If you do not plan out what you will do, you may easily spend all of your time on cases. And this is a trap that so many students fall into. And they end up putting off outlining, learning the law, and practice exams, which are so critical to excelling in law school. So to plan your schedule, I recommend that you plan out your week at the beginning of each week and decide what you will do each day. And on each day, you should focus on the 5 things that will help you excel in law school. Preparing for class by book briefing cases before class, adding to your outline after class, and reviewing and memorizing that outline, then doing some practice problems and exams, and working on legal writing assignments. Then every week you will not only know when and where you will study, but you will also know what you plan to get done each day. This will help you be efficient in your approach, and it will help you prioritize well. You will not feel lost or get behind. Now here we've focused on how to succeed academically in law school. Some people ask why we focus so much on academic success. After all, there are many ways to define success. Giving back, helping others, being personally and professionally happy, developing a great network, becoming a stellar legal researcher or writer, etc. But here we focus on academic success for a few reasons. First, it has the capability of unlocking the most doors. If you want to get a big law firm job, academic success is a must. If you want to do law review or moot court, again, academic success is extremely helpful. If you want to pass the bar exam the first time, the number one thing that you can do is succeed academically your first year, since bar exam topics test first-year law school classes the most heavily. If you want to try to get a scholarship or transfer law schools, academic success is the way to do that. Second, by following this strategy, you will learn the law really well. And that is one of the goals of law school. If you know the law well, it will help you as a practicing attorney, no matter what field of law you end up in. Lastly, there are a lot of other resources that focus on other aspects of law school success. But there are not a lot of high-quality resources that focus on academic success, and that is our focus here. So right now, I highly recommend that you take time to go through our free law school prep course. We not only go through this strategy and these skills in great depth, but you also get the chance to practice these ahead of time. So you will learn how to take class notes and get to practice taking class notes. You will learn how to answer questions if you are called on in class. And we have a simulated practice class where you will actually have the opportunity to practice this skill. You will also learn how to outline, and you will be able to make your own outline so that you can start to practice this skill ahead of time. And you will learn how to practice exams using the IRAC method and self-grade them. And again, you will get the opportunity to practice that using actual exam questions. We also tell you how to make an effective study schedule and a step-by-step process, and again, we give you the opportunity to make one. In addition, we go over each of the 6 substantive law school classes that you will take your first year of law school. So we give you an overview of the rules of law for contracts, civil procedure, constitutional law, criminal law, property, and torts. You will have a good idea of what to expect in law school, and you will learn legal vocabulary terms that you should be familiar with. We will also show you how to research, write, and make legal citations using the Blue Book. This will give you a head start on all of your substantive law school classes as well as your legal writing class. Lastly, we give you advice on other important things to consider, like how to network, how and why to make a LinkedIn profile, and how to start and keep conversations going in networking events. We also have some amazing Q&As with law school professors who wrote best-selling books, a TikTok star that attended Harvard Law School, and a law school tutor, and others. So the best thing that you can do right now if you want to excel in law school is to complete our free law school prep course. This crash course gives you a nice overview, but the full course will give you a great foundation for not only succeeding, but also excelling in law school.